You walk into a room and your heart starts sprinting. Your eyes scan every corner. You feel every glance, every whisper, every tiny break in someone's smile like a threat. You call it social anxiety. You think it means you're weaker than everyone else. But what if it means your system is picking up more signals than theirs, and nobody ever taught you what to do with that information? Machiavelli wrote that men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Social anxiety is that fear impulse turned up to maximum volume. Your body is on alert, scanning for danger, rejection, humiliation. Everyone tells you to just relax as if your nervous system is a light switch. It isn't. But what you can do is what Machiavelli would respect. Stop pretending the fear isn't there and start using it. You turn the same hyper-awareness that tortures you into a lens that makes you see what others miss. Right now, your awareness is pointed the wrong way. All that scanning, all that sensitivity, you aim it at yourself like a weapon. You walk into a crowd and your brain starts running simulations. They think I'm weird. They notice my hands. They saw me standing alone. Every tiny reaction in the room becomes proof that something is wrong with you. But look at the raw material. You notice micro-expressions, shifts in tone, who's looking at whom, who's withdrawing. Most people are half asleep to that level of detail. Your problem isn't that you see too much. Your problem is that you interpret everything as evidence against you. The first step in turning social anxiety into awareness is simple. You stop asking, "What are they thinking about me?" and start asking, "What is actually happening here?" Same nervous system, different question. When you feel that familiar rush, heart pounding, stomach tightening, you don't try to crush it. You treat it like your alarm that the scanner has turned on. Then, instead of letting it attack you, you give it a job. You start by noticing facts, not stories. That person keeps checking their phone. That group laughs louder when one guy talks and quiets when another does. That girl's smile dies the second she turns away from her friend. The guy at the edge of the room is holding his drink like a shield. These are neutral observations. No, they hate me. No, I don't belong. Just data. Your anxiety wants to race straight to conclusions. You drag it back to what your eyes and ears can actually prove. You will feel the pull to collapse back into yourself, to stare at the floor, to pull out your phone, to bolt. Instead, you make small moves that turn you into an observer, not a target. You lift your head. You let your eyes scan slowly instead of darting. You lean against a wall where you can see most of the room. You let your body feel like a camera on a tripod, not a deer in the headlights. The fear doesn't vanish, it just stops steering. Machiavelli warned what happens when people fail to look ahead. From want of foresight, men make changes which, relishing well at first, do not betray their hidden venom. The ruler is not truly wise who cannot discern evils before they develop themselves. Your anxiety is raw foresight with no training. You constantly imagine worst-case scenarios, people laughing at you, dismissing you, excluding you. That imagination hurts when you turn it inward. But the same capacity to sense danger early is a weapon when you look outward. While everyone else is distracted by the loudest voice, you can see who interrupts everyone, who never asks questions, who looks kind until someone weaker is around, who is secretly uncomfortable and hiding it the way you are. Instead of being the last to know where it's unsafe to open up, you can be the first. Instead of being the easiest person to push around, you can become the one who quietly maps the room and chooses where to stand, who to talk to, and who to avoid. You stop judging yourself for being tense. Tension is just your body storing energy with nowhere to send it, so you give it direction. When you feel your shoulders locking, you roll them back once and plant your feet. When your hands want to fidget, you let them hold a glass, a sleeve, something steady. When your breathing goes shallow, you consciously exhale longer than you inhale. Not because you expect to cure the anxiety on the spot, but because every tiny physical adjustment tells your nervous system, I see the alarm and I'm not running. Then you use the edge. Social anxiety makes you notice when conversations shift. Who goes quiet? Who lights up? Who gets ignored? That's information. You can step into those shifts instead of drowning in them. When someone gets talked over, you can say, "Wait, you were saying?" When a person's face drops after a joke, you can store that. This is not a safe one to trust with my secrets. When you see someone else doing the same wall watch that you do, you know they're likely battling their own noise. You can choose to give them a calm "hey" and a simple question. You're not performing. You're using your sensitivity as radar. Most people in rooms like this are noisy inside, but you are louder. That's why you think you're the only one. You're not. The difference is that you hear every signal your body sends. Instead of trying to silence the entire station, start tuning it. What am I actually picking up right now becomes your internal line. Is the room genuinely hostile? Or are there just 3 loud people and 10 neutral ones? Is everyone really staring at you? Or are you just aware of every glance because you're convinced you're on trial? The more you ask your anxiety for evidence, the more it has to show its work. Often, it has less than it claims. You don't have to become fearless. You have to become accurate. You were taught to see your sensitivity as weakness. Machiavelli would call it raw material. The ruler who sees storms before they form isn't cursed. He's dangerous if he knows what to do with what he sees. Your job is to stop letting your fear make up stories and start letting it collect facts. The facts will show you who is worth your energy and who is not. The law is simple. Social anxiety is awareness turned against you. Razor-sharp awareness is the same thing turned outward. You don't kill the alarm, you repurpose it. You walk into the next room expecting your heart to race, your thoughts to scatter, your senses to spike. When they do, you don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" You ask, "What can I see that other people can't?" And then quietly, you start using it. Your body already knows when a room is wrong. Before your mind can find words, your chest tightens, your thoughts scatter, your palms sweat. You call that overreacting. You try to crush it with fake confidence or hide it behind a screen. But that reaction is a signal system that's firing faster than other people's. If you keep fighting it, you stay its victim. If you train it, you become the one person in the room who actually sees what's going on. Right now, your senses are like an army with no commander. They charge in every direction at once. Every laugh, every whisper, every glance hits you like an attack. Machiavelli would say the problem isn't the army, it's the strategy. He wrote, "All courses of action are risky, so prudence is not in avoiding danger, it's impossible, but calculating risk and acting decisively. Avoiding rooms, avoiding people, avoiding eye contact. This is you trying to avoid danger. It never really works. The real move is different. You keep walking into the room, but you change what you do with the danger you feel. You stop letting it crush you, and you start measuring it. You begin with a simple rule. When your anxiety spikes, you don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" You ask, "What exactly am I detecting?" You break the vague wave into specific channels. Is it sound, loud music, overlapping conversations? Is it sight, too many faces, no safe corners, bright lights? Is it social, nobody you know, groups already formed, someone watching you? Instead of letting the feeling stay as one huge, "I can't handle this," you make your senses report in detail. The body hates this at first. It wants to label everything threat and be done. You keep dragging it back to details. You can even give yourself tiny missions when you walk into a space so your awareness has a job besides attacking you. Mission 1, count how many exits. Mission 2, spot who looks the most relaxed. Mission 3, notice who is standing alone like you. Mission 4, listen for one person who asks real questions instead of waiting to speak. These are not games to distract you, they are drills. Each mission anchors your scanning into something outside your own self-hatred. The fear is still there, but it now travels along specific rails. You become the person who knows where the doors are, who is genuine, who is safe, long before anyone else has even looked up from their phones. You also train your hearing. Social anxiety makes you hypersensitive to tone. You notice the tiny drop in someone's voice, the half-second pause before their reply. Until now, you've turned every micro shift into, "they hate me." You're going to stop doing that. You start hearing it as information about them, not about you. That guy's voice gets louder around certain people. She speaks softer when that person joins. That group laughs, but there's no warmth in it. You don't immediately inject yourself into these patterns, you just register them. Your anxiety wants to say, "they're all thinking about you." Your new awareness answers, "they're all stuck in their own loops." That switch doesn't happen once. It happens every few minutes, every time you catch your brain telling the old story. You counter with evidence. What did I actually see or hear? Your body sensations become part of the radar instead of proof that you're broken. Heart racing. It means your system picked up a change. New people came in. Someone you fear walked by. The room got louder. Instead of hating the heartbeat, you ask, what just shifted? Often you'll find a concrete reason you can see with your eyes or ears. That doesn't erase the discomfort, but it stops the spiral into, "I'm crazy." You're not crazy, you're overstimulated. Overstimulation can be mapped. You can practice this in small, controlled settings. Next time you're in a cafe, a classroom, a bus, you treat it like a training ground. You let your anxiety do its usual thing, but you narrate what your senses pick up without adding judgment. The guy 2 tables over keeps checking the door. The barista laughs differently with different customers. The woman in the corner keeps glancing at her watch. This habit builds a bridge between your raw sensitivity and your thinking mind. The more often you turn sensations into neutral observations, the less your system jumps straight from "I feel something" to "I am the problem." Machiavelli wrote, "Wisdom consists in knowing how to distinguish the nature of the trouble and in choosing the lesser evil." Social anxiety throws you into one giant undefined trouble. Everyone is dangerous, every room is hostile, every interaction is a test. Distinguishing the nature of the trouble is your way out. Is this space actually full of aggressive people, or is it just noisy and unfamiliar? Is this specific person truly mocking you, or are they awkward with everyone? Is your stomach flipping because you did something wrong, or because you're doing something new? Once you label the trouble more accurately, you can choose lesser evils. Maybe the lesser evil is standing nearer the edge of the room instead of dead center. Maybe it's talking to one person instead of forcing yourself into a big group. Maybe it's staying for 30 minutes instead of the whole 3 hours. You're not failing because you didn't transform into a social butterfly. You're training your system to distinguish levels of discomfort and pick the one that moves you forward without breaking you. Your awareness also makes you good at one thing most people are terrible at: noticing who else is struggling. Social anxiety can turn you into the most empathetic person in the room if you stop staring only at your own pain. There is almost always someone whose shoulders are tight, whose laugh is delayed, whose eyes keep flicking toward the exit. You see them because you know the feeling. That's another mission you can give your senses. Find the person who looks like you feel. You don't have to rescue them. You don't have to fix them. Sometimes you just stand near them so they're not alone on the edge. Sometimes you ask a simple, neutral question. How do you know the host? Have you been here before? You already know how terrifying those first sentences can be, so you keep them light and low stakes. If they open up, your anxiety gets to run in a new direction, toward understanding someone else instead of attacking you. If they don't, you still did something small that proves you're not only a victim of the room, you're a participant in it. Training awareness also means deciding what you will not track. You do not watch every micro movement of the person you're attracted to. You do not listen to every fragment of conversation behind you in case it's about you. You do not reread every facial expression like a threat assessment. When you catch yourself doing that, you redirect. Not my job. What else can I scan? You push your attention out into the wider field instead of tunneling it into one point of obsession. You will still have spikes, moments when someone says something sharp, laughs unexpectedly, looks at you too long, and your body tries to bolt. In those moments, awareness doesn't mean pretending you're fine. It means noticing the spike like a scientist. My heart just jumped. My face feels hot. My mind wants to leave. Then you add one simple question. What do I actually want here? Maybe the answer is 10 more seconds in this conversation, and then you exit calmly. Maybe it's ask one more question or stand here and breathe until the wave passes. Awareness plus intention beats reflex. You're not trying to become smooth. You're trying to become precise. Social anxiety will always offer you the same blurry picture. Everyone hates me, I'm failing, I need to escape. Razor-sharp awareness cuts that picture into parts. These 3 people are ignoring me. Those 4 haven't even noticed I'm here yet. That one looks open. This corner is too loud, but that one is quieter. This is a lot, but not everything is about me. You start to notice something strange. The more you train your senses to serve you, the less terrifying they feel. The room doesn't shrink, but it stops being one giant monster. It becomes a map with different zones. Safe, risky, neutral. Your body is still alert, but now it's working for you. It's telling you where you can stand, who you can test talking to, when it's time to leave. The law is simple. You can't turn off social anxiety by force, but you can retrain what it points at. Your senses are already sharp. That's why you suffer. When you point them outward with discipline, toward facts, patterns, and other people instead of your own imagined failure, they become a skill. The same awareness that once made every room feel like a trial starts making every room readable. You become the quiet person who actually understands what's happening while everyone else is lost in their own noise. You've started to see it already. Your anxiety isn't random. It spikes harder in some rooms than others, around some people more than others. But instead of treating that difference as information, you treat it as a personal failure. You keep asking, why can't I be normal here? When the better question is, why would I want to belong here? Machiavelli understood that the world punishes people who try to be pure in the wrong environment. He wrote, "The fact is that a man who wants to act virtuous in every way necessarily comes to grief among so many who are not virtuous." That's your story in a sentence. You keep walking into rooms full of habits that grind you down, shouting, gossip, constant competition, and then you blame yourself for not thriving in them. Your social anxiety is not just about you, it's also a reaction to the order of things in front of you. The trick is to stop seeing every space as a court you're trying to impress, and start seeing it like Machiavelli would. A territory you're assessing. Up until now, you've been auditioning for places that never earned it. You walked into groups thinking, how do I get them to like me? Instead of, do I even like the way this place runs? Your awareness is already scanning everything. The tone, the jokes, the body language. You've just been using that data to tear yourself apart. Part 3 is where you flip it. You use the same sensitivity to decide where you actually belong. Start with the room itself. Before you decide you're the problem, you let your awareness rate the environment. Is everyone talking over each other, or do people leave space? Do people listen to answers, or do they just wait for their turn to speak? Is the main energy mocking, bragging, complaining, or actually sharing? Are there different types of people here, or one narrow mold everyone's squeezing into? You don't judge yet, you just register patterns. Your anxiety will try to drag you back to the old script. They're better than you. Fit in. You answer with a new script. This is one court. I'm observing how it rules. Then you watch how people treat low-status targets. not the confident center of attention, the shy one in the corner, the person who messed up a story, the stranger who walked in alone. That's where the real character of a group shows. If someone stumbles, do they get rescued or ridiculed? If a quiet person talks, do others lean in or look away? If someone sets a small boundary, I don't drink, I'm tired, is it respected or pressured? Your anxiety hates watching this because it imagines you in their place. Good, that's data. If they treat other vulnerable people like props, you've just seen the future of how they'll treat you when your mask slips. Your fear is not being dramatic, it's warning you. Machiavelli wrote about strength that hides inside order, not noise. Without doubt, ferocious and disordered men are much weaker than timid and ordered ones. For order chases fear from men, and disorder lessens ferocity. In your world, timid and ordered is you when you stop running and start arranging your life on purpose. You don't have to become loud and ferocious to survive socially. You have to become ordered in what rooms you step into, what people you give energy to, what patterns you accept as normal. Disorder, random friendships, random hangouts, random boundaries is what keeps your anxiety on max, so you begin sorting spaces instead of worshiping them. Some rooms are draining. You leave more tense than you arrived, no matter how hard you try. Some rooms are neutral. You feel awkward, but not attacked. Some rooms are quietly good. Maybe you're still shy, but there's softness, respect, space. Your old habit was to treat draining rooms as goals. If I can make it there, I'll prove I'm okay. Your new habit is to treat them as warnings. If this always makes me worse, maybe I'm not meant to live here. That's not running away. That's strategy. You don't abandon all discomfort. You abandon environments that make growth impossible. You apply the same selection to people. Your sensitivity already notices who checks in on you after a rough moment and who only checks how they looked. Who remembers details you told them and who uses those details as material later. Who lets you finish a sentence and who cuts you off every time. Who makes room for your quiet and who treats your quiet like a problem to be fixed. Instead of using this awareness to write, I'm not good enough for them, you try a different line. They're not safe enough for me. You're not judging their entire existence. You're judging their impact on you. That is allowed. Social anxiety taught you to think like this. If I finally act right, I'll belong everywhere. Machiavelli would call that a fantasy. No ruler belongs everywhere. They choose alliances, territories, courts. You do the same. You stop forcing yourself into situations that only look impressive on the outside. Parties, scenes, groups that crush you every time, and start testing smaller, quieter spaces where your nervous system doesn't have to fight for air. Online communities with your interests, smaller gatherings, classes or meetups built around something you like doing, not just standing and talking. You're not avoiding life. You're designing an environment where your awareness is an asset, not a constant emergency. This is where you have to be honest with yourself. Some of your anxiety is about old pain, and some of it is about current misalignment. When you walk into a place full of people who mock vulnerability, drink to blackout, and cut anyone who's different, your anxiety isn't lying. It's telling you, this is not your tribe. When you walk into a room full of people reading, building, creating, or just talking softly, and you still feel anxious, that doesn't mean you don't belong. It might just mean you're not used to belonging yet. You learn to tell those two apart. You don't have to label people as good or evil to make better choices. You only need one question. Do I like who I become when I spend time here? If a place turns you into a version of yourself you hate, more fake, more bitter, more numb, the cost is too high. If a place makes you quieter but more honest, slower but more present, that's worth staying in. Even if your anxiety is loud at first, razor-sharp awareness isn't about judging others from above. It's about protecting the parts of you that still want to grow. You also accept that you will never completely remove risk. New groups will always feel raw. First conversations will always be a little shaky. Machiavelli's point holds. All courses of action are risky. Prudence is in calculating, not escaping. You don't wait for the room where you feel zero anxiety. You look for the rooms where your anxiety feels like stretching, not breaking. And when you land in a better space, you let your behavior reflect that decision. You don't act like a guest about to be kicked out. You stand the way you practiced. You use the awareness you trained, noticing who's kind, who's open, who's also scared. You test small interactions. You let yourself stay a little longer than your fear wants. You're not performing. You're practicing living in a place that doesn't constantly wound you. None of this means you ignore serious mental health struggles. If your anxiety is so intense that you're thinking about hurting yourself, stuck in panic attacks, or unable to function, that's not a Machiavelli problem. That's a get real support problem. Talking to a mental health professional, a trusted person, or a helpline in your country is the smart move. Using awareness doesn't replace help, it works alongside it. The law is simple. You are not failing because you don't fit every room. Most rooms are badly built. Social anxiety becomes razor-sharp awareness the moment you stop using it as a mirror and start using it as a filter. You don't beg every group to keep you. You quietly decide which worlds are allowed to have you at all. Now comes the part that scares you most, actually talking. Mapping the room is one thing. Standing, breathing, watching, you can do that in silence. But the moment it's your turn to speak, your mind goes white and your body wants out. You rehearse sentences in your head, then they fall apart halfway through. You replay every word after the fact, convinced you sounded stupid. You keep thinking, if I didn't feel this anxiety, I could finally talk like myself. But the truth is sharper. If you learn to talk with this anxiety, you'll sound more real than most people in the room. Their mouths run on autopilot. Yours is forced to wake up. Machiavelli wrote, "Where there is a great desire, there can be no great difficulty." Your desire is clear. You don't want to be the ghost in every conversation anymore. Social anxiety makes everything feel like a great difficulty. But that line is a reminder. The fact that speaking feels this hard doesn't mean you're not built for it. It means the desire is big enough to justify effort. You don't chase fearlessness, you chase skill. First shift. You stop trying to sound impressive. You aim to sound accurate. Anxiety makes you obsess over how you're coming off. You answer questions like you're taking an exam you'll be graded on later. So your sentences either come out over-polished and fake or broken and apologetic. Instead, you treat speaking like reporting, short, honest, concrete. When someone asks, "How have you been?" you don't launch a TED Talk or mutter "good" and die. You give them one real line, "busy but in a good way," or "a bit tired but I'm glad I came," or "stressed, still figuring things out." Nothing dramatic, nothing robotic. Your goal is not to prove you're okay. Your goal is to say something that feels true in one sentence. Anxiety will scream that you're being weird. You answer it by surviving the awkward second after you speak. You also stop giving away your whole life in a rush. Social anxiety hates silence, so you over-explain. Someone asks what you do, and suddenly you're unloading your entire career history, every failure, every doubt. You're not connecting, you're trying to front-load all the reasons they shouldn't reject you. You don't need that. You give slices, not the entire cake. A few lines, then you let the other person ask if they want more. If they don't, that's information, not a verdict on your worth. You use your awareness to listen before you talk. Most people are waiting for their turn to speak. They're not actually hearing what's said. Your anxiety locks you onto every micro detail anyway. You turn that into a weapon. While they talk, you listen for specifics. Something they care about, something they're annoyed by, something they repeat. When you answer, you hook into those details instead of giving a generic response. They say, "Work's been insane, my boss keeps moving deadlines." You don't say, "Yeah, same." You say, "Constantly changing deadlines are brutal. How long has it been like that?" Short question. directly tied to what they actually said. You just did something rare. You made them the subject instead of your own panic. People remember who let them feel real for a second. Your anxiety will constantly whisper, "Say more, fill the space," or they'll think you're boring. You don't obey. You practice leaving small gaps. You answer, then you let them respond. You ask, then you actually wait. Those pauses will feel like cliffs at first. Inside your body, alarms are going off. Fix it, fix it, fix it. On the outside, it just looks like you're thoughtful. You're training yourself to discover a brutal social truth. Almost nobody is timing you the way you time yourself. You use your body as a stabilizer when your voice wants to shake. When you feel the tremor rising, you don't fight it with force. You fight it with structure. Feet flat, knees unlocked, shoulders down. Exhale before you start speaking. If you can, drop your volume a tiny bit instead of cranking it up. It will feel like you're going too quiet. You're not. You're moving away from panic pitch toward the lower, calmer range that people naturally lean in to hear. Your awareness becomes a filter for who you talk to first. You do not throw yourself at the loudest cluster. You pick easier points of entry, the person standing alone near the edge, the pair in a quieter corner, the small group laughing, but not in a cruel way. Your anxiety already knows which people look dangerous. You've been using that knowledge to avoid everything. Now you start using it to choose better starting points. You do not need to conquer the hardest group in the room to prove anything. You need 1 or 2 conversations where your nervous system can practice not dying. Machiavelli wrote, "Whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past, for human events ever resemble those of preceding times." Your past is every social moment where you walked away thinking, "I messed it up." Instead of using those memories as weapons, you treat them like data. When you replay them, you don't just re-feel the shame. You ask, where did I start to panic? What exact moment? Did I actually say something terrible, or did I just say something ordinary and then freeze? Was the other person really disgusted or just distracted, tired, awkward themselves? You'll find a pattern. Most of your disasters were just small human weirdnesses that your brain turned into crimes. Knowing that, you can predict the future. Yes, you'll have more awkward moments. No, they won't destroy you. You don't have to be perfect to be remembered. You have to be consistent enough that people know what they're getting with you. You also learn the power of named discomfort. If you're talking to someone and your anxiety spikes hard, you don't have to pretend nothing is happening. You can say simple, low-drama lines that give your body relief without dumping your whole mental health file on them. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I get a little nervous in big groups. I'm thinking how to say this clearly. These sentences feel terrifying because they expose you, but they also take pressure off the performance. You're not confessing for pity, you're just naming what's real. Most people will respond with more softness than your anxiety expects. And if someone mocks you for it, you just learn something valuable about them fast. You can use that information to withdraw your time and energy from someone who doesn't deserve either. You let your awareness protect you from over-explaining. When you say no, "I'm going to head out. I'm not drinking tonight. I don't feel like talking about that." Your old reflex is to stack a pile of reasons on top so they won't be mad. Now, you watch their reaction. If they accept it, you don't add more. If they push, you repeat the boundary once, calmly, then change the subject or exit. You're not responsible for regulating their feelings. You're responsible for protecting your own nervous system from being stretched past breaking just to keep the peace. You stay aware of your limits. Strategic calm is not about forcing yourself through hours of pain to prove something to invisible judges. It's about deciding ahead of time what a win looks like for the situation. Tonight, a win might be, "I'll go and have one real conversation, then I can leave. I'll introduce myself to 2 new people and practice 3 deep breaths when I panic." I'll stay for 45 minutes instead of bolting in 5. If you hit that mark, your anxiety will still say, not enough. You ignore it and count it as a success anyway. Your brain is used to calling you a failure no matter what. You have to override it with numbers and decisions, not vibes. And you remember, this is not treatment, it's tactics. If your anxiety is destroying your sleep, wrecking your health, pushing you towards self-harm or hopelessness, strategy videos and quotes are not enough. That's when talking to a mental health professional or a trusted person isn't weakness. It's exactly the kind of clear-eyed, calculated move Machiavelli would approve of. You're not meant to white-knuckle your entire life alone. The law is simple. When you finally open your mouth, your goal is not to become a different person. It's to let the person you already are come through in smaller, truer pieces. Social anxiety will always try to yank you toward two extremes: say nothing or say everything. Razor-sharp awareness walks the middle. Short, honest answers, real listening, tiny boundaries, clean exits. You won't feel calm at first, but from the outside, you'll look more composed than you think. And over time, your body learns from your behavior. You don't wait until you feel brave to speak. You speak in small, clear ways while you're still scared, and let the room discover that the quietest one at the edge has been seeing more than anyone else the entire time. You've done the hard parts already. You walked into rooms you wanted to avoid. You stopped letting your gaze beg for approval. You used your nerves to read people instead of worship them. You spoke in small, honest sentences even when your throat wanted to shut. Now the question is, what do you do with all of this so it doesn't just become another phase you tried? This is where anxiety either goes back to eating you or becomes the backbone of a different kind of confidence. Not loud confidence, not fake swagger. The kind that comes from knowing what you're looking at and knowing you can survive it. Machiavelli understood that real intelligence isn't just about raw brain power. It's about how you process what you and others can see. There are 3 kinds of intelligence. One kind understands things for itself. The other appreciates what others can understand. The third understands neither for itself nor through others. This first kind is excellent, the second good, and the third kind useless. Social anxiety has always given you the second kind at minimum. You're painfully aware of what others feel, how they react, what they might be thinking. What you're building now is the first kind, understanding things for yourself. You're taking the signals you notice and running them through your own judgment instead of handing the verdict to every random face in the room. That shift is the beginning of real confidence. Confidence is not, I know everyone will like me. Confidence is, I know how to read what's happening, and I know I'll act in my own interest even if they don't. You earn that by keeping score of reality, not feelings. Your anxiety will always report in extremes. You start tracking facts beside it. After a social situation, your old habit was to replay every second as proof you failed. Now you run a different review. How many minutes did I stay, even if I wanted to bolt after 2? Did I talk to at least one person on purpose? Did I use any of the tools, breathing, scanning the room, short, honest answers? Did I leave on my own terms instead of disappearing in a panic? You write it down if you have to. Not a diary of self-hate, a log of evidence. Stayed 40 minutes, talked to 2 people, said no to 1 drink. Didn't fake a story. Your anxiety will still say, that was nothing. Your log says, that was more than last time. Over weeks, that stack of small proofs becomes something anxiety can't easily argue with. You also start paying attention to who you are becoming instead of just how you performed. When you walk into a place and your first question is, do I even like how this room treats people? That's identity. When you pull your attention away from the loudest show-off and toward the person who looks uncomfortable, that's values. When you accept that you get tired after an hour and plan around it instead of shaming yourself, that's self-knowledge. Machiavelli has a line that fits this perfectly. A sign of intelligence is an awareness of one's own ignorance. Your anxiety has always screamed, "You don't know what you're doing." Everyone can tell. Awareness answers, "Of course I don't know everything. That's why I'm watching. That's why I'm learning." You stop treating not knowing as proof you shouldn't be there and start treating it as normal. The confident people you envy are not all knowing. They're just less haunted by the fact that they aren't. Your advantage is that you are haunted, and you can use that to stay awake in ways they don't. You let your awareness dictate training, not torture. Instead of forcing yourself into the hardest situation, huge party, total strangers, stay 5 hours. You design levels. Level 1, small cafe with one friend. Practice looking around and naming what you notice. Level 2, small group hangout. Practice 1 or 2 real questions. Level 3, medium event. Practice staying through one full wave of "I want to leave" before you decide. Every time you clear a level, you don't just feel relief, you mark it as progress. Confidence grows from these repetitions, not from one magical night where everything suddenly feels easy. You also stop treating every spike of anxiety as a sign you've gone backward. Confident people get nervous too. They're just not surprised by it anymore. Your new stance is, "Of course I'm anxious. My system runs hot, but I know what to do with it now." That alone separates you from the version of you who thought every shaky heartbeat was an emergency. You keep using your awareness to choose people who make growth easier, not harder. You've already seen the difference. In some circles, your quiet gets mocked. In others, it just gets accepted. In some, your honesty gets weaponized. In others, it's met with "same." Confidence is not about winning over the worst environments. It's about building a base in better ones. When your nervous system spends time around people who don't punish your sensitivity, it starts to loosen on its own. At the same time, you don't romanticize your anxiety into a superpower that never hurts you. You respect it enough to get help when it's too big for strategies alone. If you're dealing with panic attacks, constant dread, or thoughts about hurting yourself, using awareness tools is good. But reaching out to a mental health professional, a trusted person, or a local helpline is smart and necessary. Checking how you feel and asking for support when it's heavy is part of razor-sharp awareness, not a failure of it. You practice one more hard skill, not chasing every impression you leave. Social anxiety trained you to run post-mortems on every interaction. Did they like me? Did I say the wrong thing? Should I message them to fix it? That habit keeps you on trial forever. Razor-sharp awareness does something colder and kinder. It lets some questions stay unanswered. You start telling yourself, "Maybe they liked me, maybe they didn't. I showed up the way I wanted today. I'm allowed to rest now." Your brain will fight you on this. It will try to drag you back into the endless courtroom. You answer by doing something physical that belongs to your life. Washing dishes, going for a short walk, stretching, working on a hobby. You're training your body to understand that after social effort comes recovery, not interrogation. Over time, your identity shifts from the anxious one to something more accurate, the one who notices what others miss, the one who quietly protects their energy, the one who doesn't bully themselves into rooms that damage them, the one who shows up honestly even when their hands shake. People will still misread you. Some will think you're shy, aloof, intense, quiet, mysterious. That's not your job to fix. Your job is to know deep down that you are not just a bundle of nerves. You are someone who has learned to turn a loud threat system into a sharp navigation system. The law is simple. Confidence built on pretending you're not scared collapses as soon as the fear returns. Confidence built on awareness survives it. You're not trying to kill your social anxiety. You're turning it into a disciplined scout that walks ahead of you, reports what it sees, and then lets you decide. You will still have bad nights. You will still go home sometimes thinking, "I talked too much," or "I didn't talk enough." But now, instead of letting those thoughts define you, you put them next to your new evidence. The rooms you read correctly, the people you chose well, the boundaries you held, the times you stayed 5 minutes longer than the fear demanded. That's how it ends. Not with you becoming a different person, but with you finally using the one you are. Sensitive, alert, watching, learning, moving anyway. Over time, the same awareness that once made every room feel like a weapon starts to feel like armor you forged yourself. And you step into each new space, knowing that even if your heart races, your eyes are open.